Hello to you guys and welcome back to this channel. We have said a lot about the performance of an embassy on this channel. I've explained that your chances of being scheduled for interview as a diversity visa applicant is directly connected to the performance of your embassy or the embassy where you are assigned. In case that embassy is performing well, then you have high chances of being scheduled for interview. And on the other hand, in case that embassy has a bad performance, then your chances of being scheduled for interview are low. By good performance, I mean that embassy interviews the diversity visa cases that are assigned there at a fast rate. And on the other hand, bad performance means the embassy interviews diversity visa cases assigned there at a slow rate. Now, bad performance leads to the creation of what is referred to as backlogs. Backlogs are simply the building up or accumulation of cases, in this case, diversity visa cases, because the embassy is not interviewing those cases as fast as they should. Now, at the beginning of this year, I introduced you to Zaticius and his website. And I told you that you can get all the data that you need concerning the DV 2025 program on Zaticius' website on a regular basis. But the fact is that not all of you guys are fans of statistics. Not every one of you are fond of charts, graphs, numbers, and that sort of thing. Moreover, the word is a fast-moving word, and you guys generally do not have the time to carry out analysis concerning your diversity visa case. So what I've decided in this video to do is to share with you, especially those of you who have been asking concerning the performance of your embassy or whether backlog has been created at your embassy. I would like to share with you these two simple methods that you can use to get to know the performance of your embassy and whether there is backlog at your embassy or not. You will not have to go through the data that is on Zaticius' website. You will not have to carry out in-depth analysis to get to know those two realities. I've already shared the first of those methods on this channel in a past video a couple of months ago, but I'm going to go over that method for the benefit of those of you who did not watch that video. And in addition to that, I'm going to share with you another method related to the first one that you can also use to get to know these two realities. Now, I must also say that both of these methods are connected or work in line with the second report, weekly report that I present on this channel. Generally, I present that report on Mondays, and it is the report that has to do with the scheduling of interviews. So once you follow that report, you can use both of these methods easily to gauge the performance of your embassy as well as the possibility of backlog at your embassy. Now, the first method, the one that I've already shared before, has to do with comparing where the scheduling of interviews is at your embassy with the cutoff number that is established for your region if you are not from an exception country, or for your country in case you are from an exception country. When you carry out that analysis and you see that the scheduling of interviews at your embassy is close to the cutoff number that has been established for your region or exception country, then it means that your embassy has a good performance. And on the other hand, if the scheduling of interviews is far away from the cutoff number that has been established for your region or exception country, then it means that your embassy has a bad performance. Carry out that analysis from the week that follows the publication of the visa bulletin up to the end of the month. And you will see if there is any progress in interview scheduling at your embassy. And as I said earlier, that will indicate the performance of your embassy. Now, the second method, which is also connected to the second weekly report that I present on this channel, has to do with how long interview scheduling stays at a case number range. In the report that I present, I usually say for each of the embassies that I cover on this channel that the scheduling of interviews is at this case number range, which is also the highest case number range where interviews have been scheduled. So in case the scheduling of interviews remains at a case number range for several weeks running, that is an indication of bad performance of the embassy concerned. And on the other hand, in case the scheduling of interviews does not remain for a long time at a particular case number range, then that is sign of good performance of that embassy. It can also explain whether or tell you whether backlog has been created at your embassy or not. The longer interview scheduling remains at a case number range, the more the backlog at the embassy concerned. And the shorter the time that the scheduling of interviews stays at a case number range is an indication that there is either no backlog at that embassy or very little backlog at that embassy. Now, let's consider an example in the case of each of the methods that I just shared with you. The first one being how close or how far interview scheduling is from the cutoff number that has been established for the region or exception country. In the last interview scheduling report, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that concerning the Monrovia, Liberia embassy, interview scheduling was at 34,700 plus case number range. And as you all know, the cutoff number that has been established for the Africa region for the month of May is 35,000. So in a big region like the Africa region, 34,700 is pretty close to 35,000. So our conclusion in this case is that the Monrovia, Liberia embassy has a very good performance. The example concerning the second method, the method that has to do with how long the scheduling of interviews stays at a case number range. When the first CEAC data was published in the month of January, and we saw that Nairobi, Kenya had interviewed a relatively high number of diversity visa cases, at that time, it was an indication of good performance. But from the beginning of January up to now, we see that Nairobi, Kenya has remained at 11,000 when it comes to the scheduling of diversity visa interviews. In other words, interview scheduling has not moved at the Nairobi, Kenya embassy since the beginning of this year, 2025, which is an indication of terrible performance on the part of that embassy. So those are two very simple methods that you guys can use to know or have an idea of the performance of your embassy and to know whether a backlog exists at your embassy or not without having to comb through the content on Zatishus's website. As I said earlier, not everyone has the time and not everyone is a fan of data, statistics, charts, graphics, and that sort of thing. That is what I had to share with you in today's video. Now, go ahead and apply those methods to have answers to both of those questions. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching it. See you very soon, God willing, in the next one. Until then, goodbye.